Commander He-jin stared at the blue planet through the main screen of his research ship. Earth looked peaceful from space, wrapped in white clouds and blue oceans. He had studied many worlds before, but this one was different. The readings from their scanners showed something very strange about the main species of this planet, the humans. "Commander, all systems are ready for closer observation," Science Officer Jinna said from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she checked the latest data. The humans appear to have no natural armor. Their skin is softer than most species we have studied. He-jin nodded and walked to her station. The screen showed detailed images of humans going about their daily lives. They wore thin clothes and worked in all kinds of weather. They didn't even have scales or thick fur to protect them. "It doesn't make sense," Security Chief Daeho said, joining them at the station. "How did they become the dominant species on their planet? There are creatures with thick skin, sharp claws, and powerful jaws. But these humans," he pointed at the screen showing a group of humans playing in a park. The research team had arrived at Earth after picking up signals from the planet. The Galactic Research Institute wanted to study new species, and humans seemed like an interesting case. They had technology, but hadn't reached the stars yet. They built big cities, but their bodies looked weak. "Let's set up our base," He-jin decided. He picked up his tablet and marked a spot on the map. "This area in what they call South Korea looks perfect. It's mostly farmland, so we can watch them without being noticed." Jinna prepared their cloaking systems while Daeho checked their safety equipment. They didn't expect any trouble. Their reports already marked Earth as a safe research zone because humans seemed harmless. The ship landed quietly in a forest near a small farm. Through their cameras, they could see an old farmhouse where a man named Tae-sung lived alone. He grew vegetables and kept some chickens. He seemed like the perfect subject to study, living a simple life that showed how humans dealt with their environment. "Look at this," Jinna called out suddenly. Her scanner was showing strange patterns in Tae-sung's skin cells. The readings didn't match anything they had seen before. "Maybe the scanner is broken. These numbers can't be right." He-jin looked at the readings. According to their equipment, the human skin had some kind of special structure. But when they watched Tae-sung working in his fields, his skin looked as soft as cloth. He even got scratches from thorny plants. "Run the tests again," He-jin ordered, "and prepare the field equipment. Tomorrow, we'll start our close-up observations." As the sun set over the farm, the research team prepared for their first real day of studying humans. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to discover something that would change how the entire galaxy saw humans. Daeho made one last check of their security systems before night fell. "At least we won't need much protection here," he said. "What's the worst that could happen with such soft-skinned creatures?" He-jin looked at the peaceful farm below their ship. Years of scientific training had taught him that things weren't always what they seemed, but even he couldn't guess the truth about human skin, a truth that would soon shock their entire research team. The first stars appeared in the sky as the team settled in for the night. Tomorrow would bring their first close contact with humans. They thought they were ready for anything. They were wrong. The morning sun rose over Tae-sung's farm as Commander He-jin and his team began their first day of close observation. They wore special suits that made them invisible to human eyes. The air was cool, and birds sang in the nearby trees. Jinna checked her scanning device again. The strange readings about human skin were still there, but she tried to focus on other tasks. Through her viewer, she watched Tae-sung start his morning work. He walked through his vegetable garden without any protection against the thorny plants. "How can he work like that?" Daeho whispered, standing next to Jinna. "We would need protective gear to handle those plants, but he just touches them with his bare hands." They watched as Tae-sung pulled weeds from between his vegetables. Sometimes the thorns scratched his skin, leaving small red marks. But he didn't seem to care. He just kept working, humming a quiet song to himself. He-jin made notes on his tablet. His skin shows signs of damage from simple plants, yet the cellular readings suggest something else. There's a mystery here that we're missing. The team followed Taesung as he went about his day. He fixed a broken fence with his bare hands, carried heavy boxes of vegetables to his truck, and worked for hours under the hot sun. His skin got red from the heat, but he kept working. Around noon, something unexpected happened. Taesung was loading his truck when he accidentally hit his hand with a heavy metal tool. The research team expected to see serious injury. Instead, Taesung just shook his hand and went back to work. "That's impossible," Jinna said, checking her scanner. "That hit should have broken bones. But there's no damage at all." She adjusted her equipment, thinking it must be malfunctioning. Jin moved closer to get a better look. "Run a full scan of his hand. Compare it to our database of other species." The results made no sense. According to their scans, human skin was both soft and incredibly strong at the same time. It could be scratched by thorns, but could also protect against much stronger impacts. "Maybe it's just this one human," Daeho suggested. "We should check others too." The team expanded their observation area. They watched farmers in nearby fields, children playing in a schoolyard, and workers at a construction site. Everyone showed the same patterns. Their skin looked soft and could get small scratches, but it also protected them from injuries that should have been much worse. As the day went on, Jinnah collected more data. The structure of human skin was like nothing they had seen before. It was flexible like cloth, but could become hard as metal when needed. The humans didn't even seem to know they had this ability. "We need to report this to the Institute," Jin said as evening approached. "But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Back in their ship, the team reviewed their findings. Taesung's farm was quiet now, lit only by the moon and stars. Through their monitors, they could see him sitting on his porch, drinking tea after his long day of work. "Tomorrow, we'll run more tests," Jin told his team. "There's something special about these humans. We need to find out what it is." None of them knew that the next day would bring even bigger surprises. The truth about human skin was more amazing than they could imagine, and they were about to discover it in the most unexpected way. The third day of observation started like any other. Commander Jin and his team watched as Taesung began his morning work in the fields. The sun was bright, and a cool breeze moved through the trees. None of them knew this day would change everything they thought they knew about humans. Jinnah was the first to hear the sounds. "Commander, there's some activity to the east," she said, checking her scanners. "It seems to be their military forces." Through their equipment, they could see soldiers setting up training exercises in a field about a kilometer away. They had guns and other weapons for practice. The area was far enough from Taesung's farm that it shouldn't cause any problems. "This might be interesting to observe," Jin said. "We can study how humans protect themselves during combat training." The team watched as the soldiers began their exercises. They wore thick protective gear and helmets. This seemed to support what the aliens believed, that human skin was too soft and needed extra protection. Taesung worked in his fields as usual, unaware of the training happening nearby. He was picking vegetables and putting them in baskets. The morning was peaceful until everything went wrong at once. A group of young soldiers got confused about their training area. They moved too close to the farm, thinking it was part of their practice zone. When they started their shooting exercise, they didn't see Taesung working behind his rows of corn. "We have to do something," Daeho shouted, reaching for their emergency transport beam. But it was too late. The sound of gunfire filled the air. Several bullets flew past their intended targets and headed straight toward Taesung. The research team watched in horror, expecting to see the worst. But something impossible happened. The bullets hit Taesung's exposed skin and fell to the ground. They didn't leave even a mark. Taesung looked up, startled by the noise, but he wasn't hurt at all. "Record everything," Jin ordered, his voice shaking with excitement. Jin-Ah's hands moved quickly over her scanner, capturing every detail of what they were seeing. The soldiers realized their mistake and quickly stopped firing. They ran to check if Tae-sung was okay, expecting to find him injured. Instead, they found him calmly picking up his dropped vegetables. "I'm fine," they heard him say to the worried soldiers. "Just be more careful next time." He acted like being hit by bullets was no more bothersome than being hit by raindrops. Back in their hidden ship, the research team could hardly believe what they had seen. Jin-Ah's scanners had captured everything. The data showed that when the bullets hit Tae-sung's skin, its structure had changed instantly. It had become harder than any armor they had ever studied. "This is a level 1 discovery," He-jin said, his voice serious. In all his years of research, he had never seen anything like this. "We need to contact the Institute immediately." Dae-ho was looking at the replay of the incident on their screens. "All this time," he said quietly, "we thought they needed protection because their skin was soft. But they don't wear armor to protect themselves. They wear it to protect others from knowing what they really are." As the soldiers apologized to Tae-sung and left his farm, the research team began preparing their report. They had just discovered that the seemingly soft-skinned humans were actually one of the most well-protected species in the galaxy, and this was just the beginning of what they would learn about Earth's remarkable inhabitants. Commander He-jin's research ship hummed with activity as the team worked to understand their discovery. They had moved the ship to a new location, hiding it in the mountains where they could conduct their research in secret. The incident with Tae-sung had changed everything they thought they knew about humans. "The data is remarkable," Jin-Ah said, showing her findings on the main screen. She had been working for hours, analyzing the structure of human skin. Their skin cells can change their structure in less than a millisecond. When danger comes, the cells lock together like armor. Dae-ho stood at his security station, running different tests. He had collected samples of various weapons that humans used in their military. "But why do they make weapons at all?" he asked. "If their skin can stop bullets, why do they need guns?" He-jin watched as Jin-Ah's computer showed more test results. The team had spent the day gathering data from different places. They watched construction workers handle hot metal without burns. They saw children fall from trees and walk away without injury. Every human they studied showed the same amazing ability. "Look at this," Jin-Ah called out. She had found something new in her scans. The protection isn't just against bullets. Their skin adapts to all kinds of damage: heat, cold, impacts, even radiation. It responds differently to each threat. The commander walked to a window, looking out at Earth's countryside below. "We need to understand why they hide this ability," he said. "They act like they're fragile. They pretend to need protection. But why?" The team started a new series of tests. They used their advanced equipment to study humans in different situations. They watched them work in factories with dangerous machines. They observed them playing sports and getting into accidents. Every time, the humans pretended to be careful with their soft skin, but their bodies were actually protecting them in amazing ways. "Commander," Dae-ho said suddenly, "I think we should keep this information classified." He looked worried as he spoke. If other species learn about this, they might see humans as a threat. Some might want to capture them for study. He-jin nodded slowly. The security chief was right. This kind of discovery could cause panic across the galaxy. Many species relied on their natural armor or advanced weapons for protection. The idea that humans had something better, something that looked harmless until needed, would frighten them. Jin-Ah added more data to their files. She had found that human skin was not just protective, it was getting stronger. "Their bodies are still evolving," she explained. "Each generation is slightly stronger than the last. In a few hundred years, they might be nearly invincible." As evening approached, the team prepared their official report for the Galactic Research Institute. They had to be very careful about how they presented their findings. They didn't want to cause alarm, But they also needed to make sure the Institute understood how important this discovery was. Mark everything as top secret, He-Jin ordered. We need to protect this information, and we need to protect the humans too. They have managed to keep this ability hidden from themselves for their entire history. We should respect that. But as they worked on their report, none of them knew that they weren't the only ones who had made this discovery. Someone else was watching the humans too, and they had very different plans for this information. The morning calm was broken by an alert from their ship's sensors. Another research vessel had entered Earth's atmosphere. Commander He-Jin recognized the ship's markings immediately. It belonged to Dr. Mai, a scientist known for her dramatic public announcements about new discoveries. They're landing near the town, Jin-Ah reported, watching the rival ship's descent. They're not even trying to hide their presence. He-Jin called his team together quickly. They had to act fast. If Mai-Ray's team discovered the truth about human skin, they would tell everyone in the galaxy. That could put Earth in danger. The young researcher Sun-Ho, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Commander, I found something important in our data. He showed them his computer screen. Earth's gravity and atmosphere are different from other planets. I think that's why humans developed this special skin. Before they could discuss Sun-Ho's discovery, they saw Mai-Ray's team starting their own observations. Through their monitors, they watched as the rival researchers set up their equipment near Taesung's farm. We have to warn them, Daho said. Mai-Ray's team doesn't know how dangerous their tests could be. If they make humans reveal their true strength, it could cause panic across the galaxy. He-Jin tried to send a message to Mai-Ray's ship, but she ignored it. She was already speaking to her research team, pointing at the humans working in the fields below. Look at their fragile bodies, they heard Mai-Ray say through their monitors. Such weak creatures shouldn't be allowed to develop space travel. We must warn the galaxy about the potential threat. Sun-Ho continued working on his computer, trying to understand more about human skin. Commander, he called out suddenly. The humans evolved this way to protect Earth itself. Their skin doesn't just defend them. It helps them take care of their planet without damaging it. He-Jin watched as Mai-Ray's team prepared their testing equipment. They were planning to capture evidence of human weakness, but he knew their tests would show exactly the opposite. We have two choices, He-Jin told his team. We can try to stop Mai-Ray, or we can help her understand the truth, that humans aren't a threat to anyone. They're protectors. Jin-Ah looked at her latest scans of Taesung working in his fields. Their strength comes from their gentleness, she said. They could crush rocks with their bare hands, but they choose to plant flowers instead. As the day went on, tension grew between the two research teams. Mai-Ray was preparing to make her announcement to the galaxy. She wanted to show everyone that humans were too weak to join galactic society. But He-Jin's team knew better. They had seen the truth. Humans weren't weak at all. They were possibly the strongest species in the galaxy. And soon, everyone would know it. The sun began to set over Taesung's farm. Tomorrow would bring a confrontation that would change how the entire galaxy saw humans. And somewhere in his peaceful fields, a simple farmer continued his work, unaware that he was about to become the center of an interstellar debate about the true nature of strength. Dr. Mai-Ray waited until early morning to begin her demonstration. Her team carried strange equipment across Taesung's fields while the farmer worked nearby. Commander He-Jin and his team watched from their hidden position, ready to intervene if necessary. The human specimen is alone. Mai-Ray spoke into her recorder. We will now prove how fragile these creatures are. She seemed pleased with herself as she prepared her tests. Taesung noticed the strange lights from Mai-Ray's equipment but continued working. He carefully tended to his vegetables, showing no fear of the invisible visitors watching him. Jin-Ah monitored everything through their scanners. Their equipment is designed to capture and contain living specimens, she reported to He-Jin. They're going to try to take him. Mai-Ray's team activated their capture field, a beam of energy designed to hold even the strongest alien creatures. It surrounded Taesung in a bright blue light. But something unexpected happened. The farmer stood calmly in the field of energy, still holding his gardening tools. The capture beam that could hold powerful aliens had no effect on him. His skin glowed slightly, adapting to the energy trying to contain him. Impossible. Mireille shouted, increasing the power of her equipment. No species can resist a Class 9 containment field. Hejin watched as Taesung simply walked through the energy field, as if it were nothing more than a warm breeze. The farmer's face showed mild curiosity at the strange lights, but no discomfort. Mireille's team tried different weapons next. They used stun beams, paralysis rays, and even strong nets. Nothing worked. Each time, Taesung's skin adapted to protect him, while he remained perfectly calm. "Stop this," Hejin finally called out, revealing himself and his team. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." But Mireille wouldn't listen. She prepared her strongest weapon, a device that could knock out a large animal. As she aimed it at Taesung, the farmer finally turned to face the spot where the invisible alien stood. "Please stop wasting your time," Taesung said quietly, speaking to the air around him. "I have work to finish before the rain comes." His voice was gentle but firm. Mireille fired her weapon. The blast hit Taesung directly, but his skin absorbed the energy completely. He didn't even move. Instead, he picked up his basket of vegetables and started walking toward his house. "How?" Mireille's voice shook as she watched him leave. "How can they be so strong?" Hejin approached her team. "They're strong because they choose to be gentle," he explained. "Their power isn't in their ability to fight, but in their choice not to." As they watched Taesung disappear into his house, both research teams realized they had witnessed something remarkable. They had seen not just the physical strength of human skin, but the true power of human nature. The morning sun rose higher in the sky, and rain clouds began to gather, just as Taesung had predicted. The farmer had known what was coming, just as he had known about the aliens all along. He had simply chosen to let them learn their lesson in their own way. The rain fell softly on Taesung's farm as Commander Hejin and Jinna sat at the farmer's kitchen table. After the morning's events, Taesung had invited them inside. He had made tea for everyone, acting as if having invisible alien visitors was perfectly normal. "You can turn off your cloaking devices," Taesung said, pouring tea into 3 cups. "I've known you were watching for days." His calm voice surprised them both. Hejin and Jinna followed his suggestion, revealing their true forms. Taesung showed no surprise at their appearance. He simply nodded and pushed the teacups toward them. "How long have humans known about their special abilities?" Hejin asked, holding the warm cup in his hands. The kitchen was cozy, filled with the smell of herbs and fresh bread. Taesung looked out his window at the rain. "We've always known," he answered. "Every child learns it when they first fall and don't get hurt. But we also learn not to talk about it." Jinna took out her scanner, but Taesung gently shook his head. "Sometimes understanding doesn't come from machines," he said. "Let me tell you a story my grandmother told me." He explained how long ago humans realized they were different from other creatures. They could survive things that would harm others. Their skin could stop injuries that would kill most animals. But they also saw how this knowledge could lead to trouble. "We decided to keep it quiet," Taesung continued. "Not because we were afraid, but because we wanted to live in peace. If everyone knew how strong we were, they might always expect us to fight." Outside, they could see Mireille's ship preparing to leave Earth. The failed capture attempt had taught her team an important lesson about judging others by their appearance. "But why do you choose to farm?" Jinna asked, looking at Taesung's calloused hands. "With your abilities, you could do anything." Taesung smiled, touching a small plant on his windowsill. "Strength isn't just about what you can destroy," he said. "It's about what you can create and protect. My hands can break rocks, but they can also grow food that feeds people. That's the choice we make every day." Jin understood now why humans had developed such remarkable skin. It wasn't just for protection. It was so they could work hard, build things, and take care of their world without worrying about getting hurt. "Your people are remarkable," Jin said. "You have the power to be the most feared species in the galaxy, but instead, you choose to be farmers, teachers, and creators." The rain continued to fall outside as they talked. Tai Sung shared stories about his family, his farm, and the simple life he had chosen. With each story, the aliens learned more about the true nature of human strength. As evening approached, Jin and Jinna prepared to leave. "Will you tell others about us?" Ta Sung asked, standing in his doorway. "We'll tell them what they need to know," Jin replied. "That humans are strong not because of their bulletproof skin, but because of how they choose to use their strength." Tai Sung nodded, satisfied with this answer. As the aliens walked back to their ship through the rain, they heard him begin to hum his working song again, preparing for another day of peaceful farming. 3 months after their discovery on Earth, Commander Jin stood before the Galactic Research Institute's High Council. The grand meeting hall was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. They had all come to hear the final decision about Earth's status in the galaxy. After careful consideration of Commander Jin's reports, the head council member announced, "We have decided to classify Earth as a protected world." The announcement caused whispers among the gathered aliens. Jin looked at his team seated nearby. Jinna and Daeho sat with Sunho, who had helped them prepare their final report. Even Dr. Myre was there, though she had changed greatly since her experience on Earth. "The humans have shown us something remarkable," Jin said to the council. "They possess strength beyond our understanding, yet they choose to live in peace. They could dominate other species, yet they prefer to grow gardens and build communities." The council displayed images from Earth on the large screens around the hall. They showed humans doing everyday things. Farmers working in fields, builders creating homes, teachers helping children, doctors healing the sick. In each image, humans used their incredible strength not to destroy, but to create and protect. "We used to think they needed our protection," Myre spoke up, surprising everyone. "But they have protected themselves all along by choosing peace over power. They don't need our help. We need to learn from them." Back on Earth, Tai Sung continued his simple life, unaware of the grand meeting taking place among the stars. He worked in his fields, grew his vegetables, and greeted his neighbors with a kind smile. His strength remained hidden beneath his gentle manner, just the way he preferred it. The council decided to place special satellites around Earth. These weren't to watch humans as possible threats, but to protect them from any species that might misunderstand their peaceful nature. It was the galaxy's way of honoring humanity's choice to use their strength wisely. Jin wrote his final entry in the official record. "We came to study what we thought was a weak species. Instead, we found beings of extraordinary power who had learned the greatest lesson of all. That true strength lies not in the ability to harm, but in the choice to help. Their skin is not bulletproof because they want to fight. It is bulletproof so they can work harder to make their world better." As the council meeting ended, the representatives from various worlds left with a new understanding. They had learned that sometimes the softest things could be the strongest, and that true power often came wrapped in gentleness. Years later, people would still visit Ta Sung's farm. They would see an ordinary human tending his crops, working with careful hands that could bend steel but chose instead to nurture growing things. And in this simple scene, they would understand the true meaning of strength. The story of human skin became a legend across the galaxy, but it wasn't remembered as a story about bulletproof bodies. Instead, it was told as a story about the strength found in gentleness and the power of choosing peace over fear. And somewhere on a quiet farm on Earth, as he had always done, Tai Sung continued to work his fields, hum his songs, and show through his simple actions that the strongest beings in the universe were those who used their power to help others grow.